And good evening. It is a Saturday about 8 p.m., which means it's Biddle time. It's kind of like Oprah time, except without the free car. So, how is everybody tonight?
Doing good.
Excellent.
Really good.
I'm glad you're here. So we're set to have a talk around the virtual water cooler, anything that is Linux, tech, open source related. It's on the table for discussion. Do have some things on the docket, a couple. But first, I want to thank Rocco for starting the Biddle community, where I met some of the greatest people ever that have helped me through a whole range of problems and really encouraged me to do more with my tech. So, has anyone been doing anything exciting in Linux in the last week? Or tech? Or anything that they want to share?
I have more
fire away.
question, Ken.
Sure, fire away.
Okay, so we did that. I still can't pronounce it. Who's it
Whonix.
or whatever?
Whonix, yeah.
And it ran in VirtualBox and stuff. And so I wanted to compare running that, and I wanted to play with the other one, the other virtual programs that were available. There was, I think it was Shekel. He said there was genome or gnome boxes was one, and then the other one was KVM. Let's see now.
QEMU, yeah, libvirt,
right.
libvirt manager.
And Virt manager, right. I played with all of them. I think Shekel said there was an advantage not to run VirtualBox because something to do with the way it would update and maybe make a mistake, I guess he was trying to reply to. Or did I hear that wrong? Or it doesn't matter which one I run?
I think there are advantages to each thing. I think QEMU is faster than VirtualBox, but KVM is even faster than that. But VirtualBox or any VM, any real VM has more security, has better security if everything's done correctly than the way KVM and QEMU is because of the virtual machine. Another thing is, I think VirtualBox, you have to load modules into the kernel. Which KVM and QEMU, I think that's included with the kernel by default. So you're not adding any more to it.
That was the other thing. I was confused. I installed KVM and the other one. I installed both of them, I think, at the same time. Are they different? Did I only have to install one, or
between which ones?
KVM and the QU. I see. I wish I could. You get it dyslexic.
QEMU.
Yeah, QUME. Yeah, it's because when I went to the instructions how to, I watched what is it, Nova Spirit Tech. He had a video on how to install it, and I watched his, and it looked like I was installing both of them at the same time.
I think they're separate things. People always talk about them together, even though they're separate things, because they're both Linux technologies. I think that's why.
Yeah, I was a little confused if they were different or I don't know. I'm still a little mixed up on that one. Well, thanks for helping, guys. I'm sorry to throw the whole podcast off.
Oh, no, not at all. No, I had a, so libvirt handles KVM, QEMU. It's kind of the same. To me, it's the same thing. I'm not exactly sure how to, like QEMU is for if you have like 100 different architectures, Eris, is that correct? Or am I missing the mark on that one?
QEMU, you have an operating system and you're putting another operating system on top of it. And KVM is very light and you just have an operating system as bare as possible. I think that's the difference. I'm not an expert by any means though.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say for sure. I just know that like when I install or when I go to install something, there's KVM and QEMU is kind of in the same line, unless I do user session or whatever. So I figured it probably just used whatever. I know the kernel KVM is kernel virtual machine. QEMU, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on.
Don't they work together or not? Those two.
I thought so.
I thought they worked in together. I can't remember because I installed KVM, I think, or what was the other one? I can't remember which one it was now. And
I feel better now.
It took over my VirtualBox folder and locked it out. So I decided not to continue using that because I couldn't get hold of my VirtualBox machines.
So QEMU could could work interoperably with KVM. Could.
Okay. I'll have to do some, I'll do some research on that, and I'll try and get a good explanation at some point in time. I just know that I access it through libvirt. That's how I do that.
libvirt, yeah, that's the other one.
Yeah. That kind of handles all the virtualization stuff.
Yeah, you can
So
use
I think-
libvirt or you can use gnome boxes.
Right, that's the front end, right? No boxes is a front end to it.
Yes, it's the front end.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, there we go. Now we know. Knowing's half the battle.
So are we already talking about Whonix right now, or are we?
Not yet. Well,
Not
that
yet.
was
Okay,
that was virtualization, but
Virtual.
yeah, so it
okay.
was
So this was
virtualization,
a
yeah.
virtual conversation, was it?
Yes. We've almost had a conversation about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And we're around the virtual water cooler.
Right. Around the virtual water cooler, having a talk in the break room about virtualization.
And we're going to cue the emu. We'll
Yes.
cue the emu.
Right. So
So this was a virtual meta conversation about emulation.
Right. So LQ Larry says quick emulators QEMU. So then that would be the aspect that would handle things like if you're going to run an ARM architecture. Would that be correct, Larry? I'll have to wait for the response on that because I'm sure there's a delay. I don't know how much. But that's interesting.
So there's really no advantage to running any of them except for, like you said, security.
Well, KVM I think is quicker.
Okay.
I noticed like if I'm running KVM, it seems like, does he think so? Okay, so it is for multiple architectures.
It's
So
quicker and it's part of the kernel by default, I think.
Okay. So all right. That's why VirtualBox barked after I installed it and said that I had to.
Yeah, because you have to load a module into the kernel, like NVIDIA drivers, like kind of like that.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
Makes sense.
Yep. And then welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe.
And your volume is good. So, hey, we're good there. Hopefully everyone else can hear you too.
Excellent.
Hey, Joe.
Hi.
He's been absent for like 3 months, so we'll give him a verbal lashing later at some point in time. So, what I've been doing this week a lot of is besides work around the homestead here and school's in session, so a lot of educating the kids. I've been installing smart house things, home automation in my cubicle labs here. So from years ago, I used something called Insteon, which is backwards compatible to X10. I'm sure LQ Larry knows what X10 is because he probably had it in the 70s. So that's when it came out, late mid 70s or something like that. So I got these device. I've already had these devices. I didn't dish out any cash. But the issue was I needed some way to set it up in a modern way. I originally used Mr. House like probably about 10 years ago. I don't know if that's still a project anymore, but I wanted to use Home Assistant. I'm sure. So LQ Larry still has some in the house. I am not surprised. So it's kind of like the next generation after X10. It uses a dual band, so it uses RF, and it uses power line communications, so it communicates through the wires in the house as well. And anyway, so I set these up, and the issue was I wanted to get it to talk to, some sort of a front end for automating things. I installed Home Assistant first on Docker. Oh, Mr. House is still a thing. That's good to know, Jinda. So I installed it first on a Docker, but then it wanted me to change a lot of things as far as my network to be able to talk directly, and I didn't like that. Or that wasn't Docker. I'm sorry. It was first a virtual machine, and then Docker I couldn't use because I couldn't add certain things to it, so it was not as flexible unless you had some other I couldn't change anything to add any of the add-ons. So I ended up using a Raspberry Pi 3, which it said that was okay to use, and it's been great. It's been a lot of fun to use. So I got everything all set up, and now all the lights in here, minus one, essentially one of the main lights, is all on the smart home network. So this is so homeassistant.io I think is the address of what I'm currently using, and it's a really nice interface. There's a lot of really nice plugins. It's got a nice web UI, so I can use my tablet here to very easily access the different lights and so forth. It's it's been a lot of fun. The trick is you have to have electrical wiring that has a neutral running through it, so it can't just be like a break in the circuit. It's got to be an actual a switch that basically is before the lights, not just in the middle somewhere of the lights. That would be the big thing there. So anyway, so then it's really nice because like on the tablet here I have, you know, the lights and so forth that turn on and off. So I could do, you know, I can blind everybody and do this and whatnot. So you see that, so I'm not a liar. And it's very cool to play with.
So that's an Android app, is it?
Well, that's just a web page on. There's an Android app too,
Oh.
but that was just a web page on this tablet. This is an old HP touchpad from like 2010, 2011.
Oh, right.
I think it's really funny. Noah's locked out of his garage. That's funny. We got to have a backup. So everything that I have here set up, if the Home Assistant goes down, it'll all still function because everything talks to each other. It doesn't require the hub for it to work. So light switches will still work even if there's no master controller. So they work independently as well as with a controller. And that was my big reason for using that because I don't have to worry about, you know, rebooting the Raspberry Pi and not having my house lights work, because that'd be kind of tragic. But anyway, it's fun. The other thing too is I got, because Mr. House, because Home Assistant is extensible. I can use whatever devices I want. I'm not locked into using Insteon, which is what I use. So I got these Sonoff devices, and this I'm going to use to like power my desk lights, which are not active yet, and be able to turn or different other light. I can use this for like lamps or the Christmas tree or something like that. Any kind of devices, I can like basically put it in line, like of an extension cord. That's how I'm going to use it. But you could put it in a box really. And so I'm going to be adding a few of these. So first though, I don't like the not the proprietary, but the software that's on here now, because it's could potentially be, because it is phoning home. So I'm not going to use it until after I flash this. So I got to take it apart. I got a serial to USB device, and I'll use some like the header pin type wires for, you know, like three or four of them, whatever, to plug into this, and then I can reflash it with whatever I want. So something called Tesmoda, which is a guy, another podcast and part called Maker's Corner, with Yannick from the Other Side Podcast Network. He had a guest on. He goes by PowerShell on Linux. He came on and he talked about flashing these with Tesmoda, and then you can use it with Home Assistant or whatever you want. But like, so basically, so you put open source firmware on this because it just uses the ESP style of microcontroller, and it's, you know, very easy to put it on whatever you would like. So I'm going to be doing some work with these whenever that adapter comes in, that USB to serial adapter. So I'm excited. I get to play around in my lab doing whatever things I want to do. So Master Billy Quizboy says, Tesmoda seems more popular than ESP Home. I don't know what ESP Home is. I'm sure it's probably another thing, another automation thing. Yeah, basically anything that's on the those ESP chips, which, you know, they're very inexpensive. You can pretty much use with at least Tesmoda. So that's what I've been doing in tech and Linux. It's been a lot of fun. The practical application of the Linuxy stuff that I do is now here and going. So anyway, any questions as to how it works or how difficult it is to set up, or anything of that nature? No? Blank stares? Can't hear you,
It
Joe.
looks
You're muted.
fun. It looks like fun to try. I mean, you just need some smart switches to get it to work, right?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Or some like wall boxes. Like I have a couple of these that just control lamps. You plug a lamp into there, or
Right, right.
into here, and then it's good to go.
And it works off
Oh,
a web
that's it.
page too?
What's that?
Works off a web page, right?
Yep, works off a web page. So I have
How long
my-
did it take you to get set up?
Well, the longer part is probably wiring it up correctly so you don't, let the blue smoke out of yourself. That's probably the longer part. So finding the breaker to turn off so that you can put in the switches. But if you're just doing like wall wart type stuff, it's just you plug it in, you associate with the modem, plug in the modem, set up Home Assistant, which took longer to download than it did to install, and then you're pretty much good to go. You just say you add whatever, for me anyway, the Insteon stuff. You added that and you're good to go. I mean, smart switches are like $50. Like Insteon are $50 a shot, so that is a good $20 more than a fan or dimmer switch, in a Lowe's or Home Depot. So you are paying for it, but there is a cool factor to that extra $20.
So how are the lights connected? How do you connect the lights? They got a special connection or something, or?
It's literally just the same, like a light switch that you would put into a wall.
Oh, you
that's how
connect
these.
it to
That's
the-
I took out the old switch. I took out the old switch, and then I wire nutted in the new switch. Taped it over because I'm paranoid
and
about.
This is all hardwired, is it, or is
Yes.
it
So,
hardwired?
well, these are the overhead lights are hardwired. The other lights, they're just lamps that run off of just like a little wall wart type device. It literally looks like this. You just plug it in, and then you plug the lamp in underneath, and then
Right.
then this talks to the modem. Although this is a modem, but pretend like it's not.
Right.
So-
Interesting.
So I think I have 8 devices right now. I think is what I got, something like that. And then I'll just be adding more, as I drop things. So, but yeah, and then the idea is I want to make it so my life's a little more convenient. So like the overhead lights in these other areas are, right now just turn them on, but I want it so that I'm gonna add some motion sensors so that when I walk into the rooms, they'll just turn on as I walk in. And then I don't have to worry about finding switches, because finding switches is silly. I shouldn't have to do that. That's inconvenient. So a couple motion sensors that tracks my position, and then I can just walk from one room to another. Kind of Star Trek-y like. That's what I like. So, but I would say check out Home Assistant. It's home. Is it? I think Eris put a link in the chat there.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah, home-assistant.io. It's super easy to set up. They have quite a few options there. Raspberry Pi option. They also have, if you just have like a spare PC lying around not doing anything, a desktop, whatever, you can use that as well. And then depending upon what system you go with, Z-Wave, Zigbee, there's also a variety of just like Wi-Fi switches, like this is just a Wi-Fi switch, or the Sonoff. Then you have to add the appropriate add-ons and have like a little store there. Because stores are cool. Everyone has stores now. It all started with the Wii, I think. That's when we had our first stores, I believe. Is that right, Joe? But yeah. So then you add whatever is appropriate for your network, and you're good to go. So eventually, I'm gonna do like integrations for like as I do wind and solar power generation. I'll add those integrations, and then I'll have weather station integrations, and you can just kind of keep plugging things into it. So you have a really, really neat Christmas tree of things to go wrong. And then you pull your hair out because it's not working. And you know how that goes. Everyone here's probably run their own service at some point in time that they want to bang their head against the wall because they want to try something new and it breaks. So it's good times. So Joe, before we get to our
Yes.
Whonix conversation, you released a video.
I did. Took me
And-
long enough.
It did. It took you a good 6 months to do. I'm kidding.
More like
So-
4.
So for those that are interested, Joe did a video. He does these series of videos. So he played this. They're typically NES games. They're all NES games at this point, aren't they?
There's a couple Super NES games though.
Okay. So they're all Super Nintendo. So that's not really vintage Super Nintendo. That's pretty new still in my mind. Because anyway, so he does these different videos on stuff that he plays, and so he did one on Super Mario 3, and I got to have a cameo appearance in there, and it was fun, and it made my kids laugh. So that's important, is making your kids laugh. So I put a link in the YouTube chat, and I'll make sure there'll be one in the show as well, show notes as well.
Thanks.
as well as the other links.
I had a lot of fun putting it together.
Well, Super Mario 3. Did I say it was about Super Mario 3? It's
Yeah.
about Super Mario 3. And so Joe
Not
has this
World
idea.
3.
Right. Joe has this crazy idea that Super Mario 3 is the best Mario ever.
It
when
is.
we all know it is Super Mario World. And so there's a little spat at the end there about how I disagree with him. And so it was fun.
I get a good laugh out of it, so
Yeah. I got a laugh out of it too. So I think that's Dan Kelly. Did he is that the Dan Kelly that's been absent? Hopefully.
Hopefully.
If not, we're gonna go right into our Whonix discussion. So we did the distribution that we were going to give an exploration of was Whonix, and we did a poll. I don't know if there's been an update to that poll since I checked it last. Let me let me check to see if there's been. Nope, there hasn't been an update. So it looks like 12 votes. So I'm sure it's a good cross section. That's about 10%. No, wait, less than 10% of those in the Telegram group. But so 70% said invisible already was their comment about Whonix. 8% said I can't even connect to the internet. 25% says I haven't tried it yet. 0% said waiting for an everyday distro, and 50% said who, and that's actually what I put was who. I didn't really know what any of them meant, but that one was kind of, I felt like that was the most appropriate for me because I found my everyday distro and I did try it, and I was able to connect to the internet, but I guess maybe I was invisible, so maybe that would have been the more appropriate one. I don't know. So we're gonna have a little discussion about Whonix. Now the rules are we have to be an objective and constructive conversation. It's about this product. It's non-objective opinions are unwelcome, so don't say this is garbage, but say something helpful like I wish it had a feature, I'm missing a certain feature or application. And if there are lowlights or difficulties with the distribution, we can talk about that openly, but just be very specific. And it's pronounced Whonix. It's the combination of two words. So like what person or who, or who's on first, and nix as in nothing. So there's a little history of Whonix if you are interested in looking at that instead of our silly faces on the YouTubes, you can read that. So what were some thoughts for those that installed this? I didn't even update these notes here. Good job. Did anybody have any difficulty installing it? That's true. There wasn't really an install, was there?
It was like an import to VirtualBox.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. It does say that you can install this on USB. I don't know how that works, but in VirtualBox, it has a gateway and it has a workstation. So I don't know if it works the same on USB or not. I don't know because I never tried it. But you definitely have to have the gateway up and running to get on the internet with the workstation.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, is that how everyone
else? Yeah, that is absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't want the gateway. I don't care about a gateway. I just want to use the Whonix. So I used Whonix and then it exited out after I started. I'm like, oh, I bet it needs that gateway before I can use the So I thought that was a little bit interesting, a little bit weighty to use, I guess. But so I thought I had some issues with initially trying to use it on Virt Manager or KVM, QEMU, that portion of it. I couldn't get it to import. Actually, the QCow, it wouldn't do what I thought it was supposed to do. Like it didn't actually start. It gave me all these different little errors. Like, all right, I'm just gonna use VirtualBox. I'm sure it was a me issue. I'm not gonna pin that on the distribution itself because I probably didn't read the directions clear enough. But anyway, so the VirtualBox I didn't have any issues with that. It started just fine. And what I did find a little bit frustrating was you actually had to agree to each page, otherwise it booted you out. It kind of made me laugh a little bit because...
Oh, is that right? It booted you out?
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
right?
yep. Because I just said, I went, okay, next. And I says, okay, agree, next. And then it shut down. I'm like,
So it was a
Did I have-
proper EULA. That's what a proper
Yeah.
EULA. It kicks you out right away.
yeah.
Yeah, I got kicked out.
I didn't try that. I didn't try that.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it booted you out if you did not agree to both pages of the EULA, which is, it was a short EULA. I liked, they were a little tongue-in-cheek there. They went the blah, 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 stuff. And then before you could start, they actually said blah, blah, blah in the EULA, which I thought also was funny. Which just says, well, this is definitely a Linux project. If they're going to put a lot of, put humor in the EULA, this is a classic Linux project. Or of classic roots. Or like classic roots, I suppose. I didn't actually dig into the application selection very much, but did anybody here have find the application selection good enough, or did you have to install?
From memory, I think they had just really bare bones
Yeah.
applications. I'm pretty sure wasn't a lot there, but I suppose the question is, what are you really using it for? Is my question.
Right.
Is it just purely for security on the internet? Do you really need applications if you're only using it for that? It doesn't appear to be a distro as such. It's like it's, you got to import it to VirtualBox, or I don't know how you write it to USB, but it seems to me like it's used for, I don't know, just being anonymous.
Yeah, I felt like it was targeted to someone who wants to use it for just a bit to do a specific function and then hop out. I'm not so paranoid about my banking applications. I think I'm pretty comfortable with Firefox. I mean, heck, I have it on my phone. If I can use it on my phone and feel comfortable with it, then I should be able to use it on anything. Banking
like
app.
a VPN.
It's worse than a VPN. I mean, it's more intense than a VPN. I shouldn't say worse. Bad choice of words on my part. I apologize. So it uses Tor, so it anonymizes your IP to protect you. So it's just hardening your communications essentially. So I wouldn't use it for anything like, I guess me personally, I wouldn't use it for anything daily driver. If I had something specific that like I was concerned about my traffic being compromised for whatever reason, like I don't know, in the middle of Tanzania and I don't want someone to I don't want like a roving gang of orangutans to come out and knife me to death. I wanted to keep my location secret, but tell where my pickup was. I might consider using that to keep, to tell my, my allies where my unit where I am or whatever for a pickup if I knew that they were sniffing traffic. Although no, if I'm in the middle of Tanzania, I may not have any signal anyway, so I might be knifed in the end. Anyway, so it wouldn't really matter. But anyway, I suppose if you are, if you're like a whistleblower, I suppose, if there's something going on and you need to inform somebody of some sort of nefarious activity, you don't want your traffic to be caught or whatever, I think that might be another use for it. I'm sure, it could be used for other less than honorable ways, if you so choose, but I don't think that's the intent of the distribution. It's just to protect, people from whoever they need to protect themselves from. So that's what it's for. Yeah. So Joe, you're probably fine. You probably don't have to anonymize your any talks on Nintendo games, unless you got some super secret source code that you don't want people to know about.
Next episode, pirated software. No.
So yeah, I don't know that I would really want to have a whole lot of applications on that, I guess, because to me, if I'm going to use something like this, I'm probably not going to want to put anything on there that could potentially, be calling out or whatever. I want to keep it something. I would want to keep it as lean and unfettered, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes. So that would be how I would think to use it. So I was fine with the default application selection based on that, because even so, now the one thing I didn't do was any communication between that. So I know you can do it in VirtualBox. You can probably do some sort of you could just probably SSH into your host machine, I guess. But if you had to transfer a file, how would you do that?
Flash drive.
Like from
Yeah,
host
that's how I
machine,
do it.
from host machine to guest machine
Oh, it'll just do it automatically.
for a flash drive, or would you be able to access the file system? Like how
I
would you open
just-
up the file?
So I could just copy from one desktop to the other.
Okay. You
Yeah.
can you can do that in VirtualBox. You can copy from one.
You would have to bridge the networks though.
Is that how
No,
you have to do?
I don't think
No.
it worked because I think Colin did that in his video. He tried bridging it and it didn't work with the bridge.
If you're copying it
Yeah.
over the network, yes, but if you're copying it from host to the virtual machine, it's not a network function, it's a local function.
No,
Yeah,
but
you
I
use the
think-
share folder function in VirtualBox if you're going to share between the box and your system.
Yeah.
I know you can very easily transfer text. You can have a two-way
I
Copy
didn't
paste.
try
to the
that.
clipboard.
I didn't try
It
that, to
also
be
works
honest.
for files.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, down in VirtualBox, when you set it up, there's a shared folder option. You just go in there and share make up a folder in your home folder called like shared VM stuff or something like that. Anything you put in there, you can share it with your VirtualBox. I wouldn't share everything in your home, directory, but make one folder.
Okay.
Yeah, and you got to make sure that you're part of the users groups and all that sort of jazz. Otherwise, it won't work.
Right.
You got all
you've gotta
that
be-
jazz to deal with. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, because this is a fresh hop that I just hopped into with
A
the new
fresh hop.
Zoom. Yeah, with a new Zoom installed.
I like it.
Well, congratulations.
Extreme distro hopping.
Yeah, by Dan
What are
Kelly.
you running? What are you running, Dan?
I went to Debbie and Bullseye.
Oh,
Ooh.
I was on LMDE for almost 2 years, but I went and checked out their forums and stuff like that. And it's not like they're going to come out with a number 5 anytime soon. So
right?
they're more interested in their main Linux Mint project that they have more than their Debian edition one. So yeah. So I gummed it up and just went to Debian Bullseye and used the Cinnamon desktop that was involved. I installed the Mate one along with it, but I like it because I do a lot of gaming on it. I'm gaming it to death.
That's
Has
good.
Debian got a bug at the moment? Because all desktop environments I install, it doesn't come up automatically with the username.
You always have to put your password. It will not open the hard drive right away. Like a different partition, you must
Right.
use your password for Debian. That's the way it's by default.
that's interesting.
It's probably better
I
for
didn't know that.
security that way.
Not really.
Convenience, not so much, but security probably.
Well, you know what they say. The most secure system out there is one you can't access. So if you don't know your
That's true.
username
You're done.
or your password,
You're secure. You're safe.
Yeah,
That
it
thing
ups
is
pretty
totally
secure,
safe.
It
isn't
ups the security level if you have multiple users on one machine.
Yeah, it's
Because
true.
then you have to put
That's
your
true.
username in, and that user hit their own personal password no one else knows.
Yeah.
you know, I was actually just thinking about this. I don't know what spurred it on, but this computer here has 2 users on it. My son likes to use this computer, so he'll come in here and use it. So I gave him his own login. And then I realized I don't think I use the multi-user interface for computers today like I did 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was a thing. And then, because it had limited number of capable machines. But like today, it's like everyone has their own machine, because I've got all these retired machines. I give that to one kid and this to another kid and that to another kid. And when they break it, I replace with another piece of garbage. So I don't really have multiple user logins now. And so I think,
Yeah, there's fewer machines now.
yeah, there's so many machines. I don't have to even think about it.
Yeah,
But-
I got 2 of them I don't even use laying around here that I even upgraded all the processors and RAM in them.
I believe it.
I'm kind of the security talk brings back this memory of an article I read not too long ago from Mr. System D himself.
Oh,
Oh yeah, and it makes some very valid points which, by the way, I have been making for at least 3 years now. Not that I'm trying to take credit because I don't actually do any of the work, but basically, like, one of the biggest flaws that, like, almost every distribution has by default is that any like multi-user systems, like if you log into Ubuntu, like any other user on the system can see all of your files. They may not be able to change them, but by default, they can see everything and they can read everything, which is very bad. But also, if you have multiple users on a system and it's encrypted, the encryption is pointless because the encryption happens on a system level. And as soon as you decrypt the disk, which in order for either user to be able to use it, the whole disk is unencrypted and they can see all of your files anyway.
I believe they
So
fixed that recently in Ubuntu.
they did not. They fixed the read access.
Yeah,
They
the
did
read
not fix
access,
the encryption.
not the encryption part.
But we'll get there eventually. But it's very, very frustrating because everybody thinks that it's more secure on Linux, but it's actually not really fully true.
So when you're, I can't speak for Ubuntu, but I know that when you're setting up like OpenSUSE, there are, if I remember correctly, there are some predefined security profiles on how you want it, if you are like your level of paranoia. And so the more you ratchet up, the less access you have to things. Now for me, I actually purposefully leave it open between users because I do have like a lot of my the memory work that my kids do, like the rehearsal stuff, the audio, it's on my user account and I want them to be able to access it. So I leave that fully accessible by them from their user IDs, and just to simplify things so I don't have to worry about replicating the data across. But that's what I do as far as that. So I don't, if they're part of the user account, I let it be. But there's also not very many users. You know, there are no other users really. So back to Whonix. What would you say if you were to run it? How many? Were there any applications that you would need running? I think we kind of answered this question already, but to make it usable for you, is there anything else you'd have to? Any other applications you'd have to install?
Well, it depends whether you're using it as your main daily system. Now, I would ask, is that realistic? To be honest,
Well, you need
to
the
be using
VM.
it as
You need a
Yeah.
host system.
you need a host system. You can run it USB. Don't know how that works. Never looked into it. Maybe that's an option, but yeah, I don't think you would want to be installing your video editing applications or anything like that in a VM. So I don't think there's any applications you really need. I mean, it's got I think from memory, it had an image viewer, I think, maybe a music
PDF
player,
viewer.
I think.
PDF viewer.
Yeah.
It had XPDF on it, so you can view documents. Which
I think it has a password manager that KeePassXC.
Yeah.
I would need Bitwarden.
If you
Just
needed
saying.
to do some real work, there's very little horsepower there in a VM to do real work.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can.
VMs
Work
aren't
is
known for
fake
their
anyway.
access to the hardware that well.
I mean, like a
At least these
KVM.
kinds of VMs, yeah.
With KVM, you can get a lot of horsepower out of it. I mean, you can give it all the cores, everything. You can give her the onions, as it were, if you want with
Oh,
KVM.
really?
Not the beans. The
I haven't tried it yet, so I'm kind of ignorant to the QEUM thing.
Yeah.
I think it's just a very niche distro, I think, if you call it a distro. I think it's just very niche in itself in what you do and how you use it, to be
And
honest.
I think as it was kind of mentioned earlier in regards to not really installing much on it, I think that in many ways it's very similar to how you would set up a server. The less you have, the better. Like you
Mhm.
really only want exactly what you need to get a specific task done, because anything else you install in this regard is a potential security threat. It's
Right.
an immediate hole that, it's a point of breakage. So the less you have, the better.
Good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the less you have on there, the better. I don't think there's a value to having more things on there. Like I think that's outside the scope and the purpose of the distribution itself.
I think so. Although it was interesting to try it anyway and see how it worked. It was confusing to me to start with because I think I might have did what you did, Nate. I think I started the workstation first because I didn't even realize that it had imported two. I just gung-ho just clicked on one of them and start, in the virtual machine. I didn't realize that it imported two machines.
Yeah.
At first, I didn't realize.
So my question for you would be, as far as your general user experience, how would you say this compares to something like Tails? If you've even tried Tails, is it more difficult, or is it?
I think more Tails launches right from a USB stick.
Yeah.
So if you only have one machine, so sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Aris. No, you go.
So if you only have one machine, you have to reboot in order to start Tails. And with a Whonix, you can just start it up, your VM and open it, and then once you're done, close it up again. Still be in your system. You save that time from restarting.
Okay.
And I think overall Tails is easier though. It's everything set up. It's more foolproof.
Gotcha.
Tails is an actual distro though, isn't it? I'm sure from memory. Yeah. So from that perspective, you could probably install it on your computer and use it. Whereas this one here needs a host. Whonix needs a host. So that's probably a little bit.
By default, Tails, once you run it, it just runs in RAM, and then you restart the Tails and everything's gone. There is a persistence mode, but by default, it doesn't have like persistence, unlike the VM.
Yeah, but it's still something that you could reasonably install on hardware.
I think they discourage it highly. You could probably.
I would too. Yeah. Yeah. Every time you log off, all your stuff is gone. So probably no point installing it on hardware anyway. But it's definitely doable. I made the decision to actually convert the virtual image into a raw ISO file and just write it to a hard drive anyway, because they can't tell me what to do, and it worked fine. It's just not a fun process.
So would you say that Tails versus Whonix have different target audiences then? Because it seems like it's a very similar project, but yet a different method of implementation, maybe a different use case or different the person who they're trying to get to use it, their customer, as it were.
I would make I would actually because there's a couple of ways to go about it. They both have a potential to be more secure than one another for specific reasons. So Whonix has the benefit of being virtualized, but because all that stuff is happening on disk, because everything in a virtual machine really is just a file on the host machine, I'd argue that it makes it less secure than something like Tails, which all happens in RAM and is volatile and is completely wiped. So with Whonix, there's actually technically a trace of everything you're doing on the host system. And while it's probably incredibly difficult to access, it is easier to access than nothing at all.
Right.
So which one's leaving the information? Is it the workstation or the gateway? Because it's got to use the gateway to get through. The
gateway is like a router, basically, a Tor router.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean that stops anybody from seeing anything from the workstation? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
I'm not.
I think everything's supposed to go through Tor.
Tor hides you.
But Tails,
Allegedly.
There's an option where you can use a browser that doesn't use the Tor network. Now, there's a big disclaimer that pops up, says, don't do anything you want to be anonymous with, but it does give you the option while running Tails to use the regular browser if you want to do something. Like if you want to watch YouTube or access Google services, a lot of the time with Tor, you are blocked. Right? It says because there's a lot of weird activity coming from the Tor network.
So I'd have to think that the use case for this is if you're hiding from the man or from the FBI, you're probably using it. Something.
Well,
I don't know.
each Tor server actually drops the IP address from where the information came from when it forwards it to the next one. So you don't maintain constant IP addresses across the network.
Well, Steve Anderson, he says Tails is the one that Snowden used. That's his, or uses. It's his preference.
Snowden approved.
So it's got the Snowden seal of approval. So if that's important to you, there you go.
Yeah, it hasn't snowed here in years, but I'll take his word for it.
Okay.
Nice.
played.
Snows here continuously.
Oh, it's coming here shortly. I gotta get my plow
I'd
ready.
rather not.
Yeah. Not looking forward to that. Were there any areas that you found difficult with Whonix?
Well, I noticed they use a lot of RAM, and I think
Okay.
that's one disadvantage compared to Tails because
Yep.
you're running the virtual machine plus your own machine, whatever you're doing there. So
Two virtual machines.
Yeah, 2 virtual machines.
Yeah.
So that's one advantage that Tails has if you have a low spec system.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. You have to have more overhead, you have to have a higher ceiling on your system in order to be able to do Whonix. So that is a disadvantage. I do like that I can just spin it up, and if I have something, some reason that I could spin it up in a virtual machine, do whatever I got to do, then exit out. Oh, that's interesting though, that because Shickles brought up the fact that it has Tails does everything in RAM, so it's all volatile. It's all in the volatile memory. So once you shut it down, it's all gone. I wonder, does do you know if Whonix does something like that as well? So once you shut it down, or does it actually save stuff?
It
So I
must
didn't- I
save it
didn't-
because you can update it.
But what I mean though is it's like your browsing history. Does it
No.
do anything?
There was-
I don't think
there
so
was
because it
nothing
uses
there.
the Tor browser. And
Okay.
I think that by default doesn't save anything properly.
Yeah.
That's cool. The yeah. So I find it interesting. I think more testing is probably due if I were to, if I want some sort of a amnesic distribution to do certain activities. That would be interesting test between the two to see how practical it would be. I guess like if it if it's amnesic as well and doesn't keep anything in the browsing history, Whonix doesn't, and you have the Tor, and then you have the everything right there in your system, so you don't have to reboot. I can see then the use case for using Whonix, even if you have the capability, if you have the overhead for it, the ceiling.
So I wanted to bring this up. ProtonMail recently was in the news because an weather change activist got caught because they were issued a court order in order to find out the IP of that person. So people I think were saying had he used a VPN or maybe Tor, he wouldn't have gotten caught. But because he relied on ProtonMail not to record his IP, he was caught. So that's one possible case in case you're doing something political.
That's good to know.
Hmm.
So, ProtonMail, who we all trust, got a court order, and somebody got hemmed up anyway. Any other thoughts you want to say about Whonix before I move on?
So I'm glad we're all calling it Whonix because I was actually like trolling. It's not called Whonix at all, but I did get a few people to stick with Whonix, and I think it's hilarious.
That's funny. Well, I mean, no one's perfect, right? Well, cool. So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I thought it was an interesting adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did watch your
exploration.
video, Kyle, and it looked like you were really trying to make it look like it was easy to use, even though you stumbled in some spots.
Yeah, I think it all worked better when I updated the two of them.
Right.
and then I changed my. It just depends because I mainly run from wireless. That can be a bit of a headache as well. But I changed from what is it, 2.4 gigahertz to the 5 gigahertz on the modem, and that increased the speed. So just depends who's using Ethernet at the time, or no one's using Ethernet at the time, how fast my internet is. So, but in the end, it worked pretty well. It was running quite fast.
Awesome.
So I wanted to mention what Max Henny said in the YouTube chat. He said that it's worth noting that only information ProtonMail turnover was the IP address, no contents of any mails whatsoever.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So the
Also, in general, an email service is not tasked with masking IP addresses. So if that's a concern, I wouldn't sign up for an email service so my IP doesn't get seen, because that's literally leaking all over the place every time I connect to the internet. There are services that do that.
Such as?
Proton VPN.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. He should have. So the guy using the ProtonMail should use Proton VPN, and then he probably would have been okay. Maybe.
Well, there is a
It's
free
actually,
service.
according to Swiss law, yes, because VPNs and email services are not actually required to do the same thing. So a VPN service isn't required to do this, while the mail service, they can't really provide email content because they don't have it, but IP content they can get.
Interesting. Welcome, Adam.
You know, I just when you said that, I started getting a phone call. 1 second.
It's everybody's favorite ringer too. You notice that? That's in all the movies. All the movies. Like I watch movies. I don't remember the last time I watched a movie that wasn't a kid's movie. Turbo. Just watch Turbo. It's about a very fast snail.
At least it isn't an iPhone ring, because I swear everybody that gets an iPhone never changes the ringer on it. And it sticks out everywhere.
Yeah. There's that. Right. If does anyone have anything else you want to say about Whonix before we move on and talk about it next week?
Our next exploration.
Yes, our next exploration into the world of Linuxiness.
Linuxiness.
Yep.
I think I've said enough on Whonix.
Okay.
It was interesting.
For sure. All right, so I'm so a few new things that have popped up in DistroWatch. I know that's the best place to go, but it's a nice feed. I'm not saying popularity, but it's a nice feed of what's new. So Kali Linux is one, but it's a security forensics. I'm not sure that I'd be qualified to really know what to do with that. Maybe penetrate my own network somehow. See if I can see if I can take out my smart home system. See how fast I can crash my Raspberry Pi. I don't know.
The Biddle Safe and Security section.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm not really good at security stuff, to be honest. It's not
yeah.
my.
I want to be, but it's like, it's also like, I want to learn to play the violin. Am I really willing to take the time and learn? No. Maybe the guitar, because that might be fun. Something on the campfire. There's also Xtix. It's a Debian deepin-based distribution. Actually, no, a deepin-based distribution with alternative install and utilities. I don't know what it runs on.
Yeah, but I believe they use the Deepin desktop. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, features the Deepin desktop and a number of changes.
Yep.
It's interesting. Xtix.
So I thought it was.
I've released a new version of Xtix Deepin today. Date blah blah blah. It says I've, so it means maybe one person is making this distro.
Could be. I don't know. I'm guessing if I typically means a dude,
one
or chick or something. A singular. There's also Sparky Linux, I like the name of it just because it's a funny name to me. The lightweight distribution based on Debian. Then there is Emabuntus. I don't know. A desktop distribution editions based on Debian stable with the XFCE and LXQT desktop environments. I don't know what makes it special.
Emabuntus.
Seems a little weird that they would call it. It wouldn't be based on Ubuntu, but hey, there we go.
I think it was at one point.
Oh.
But then they switched it maybe.
Well, there you go. I'm
Are
not
you
sure it doesn't
talking
really.
about Ubuntu?
No, Emabuntus.
Emabuntu. Are you getting
Yeah.
this from DistroWatch?
I am getting this from DistroWatch because it's what everybody watches.
Is it something down the middle?
Yeah, it was released on September 20th.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it says here, this distribution was originally designed to facilitate the reconditioning of computers donated to humanitarian organizations.
Oh,
That's why it exists.
well, that's a neat idea.
Yeah, it's starting with the Emmaus communities. I don't know. EMMAUS. I'm not sure how you pronounce that.
It's interesting they use a DW service replacing TeamViewer for I guess remote access in that one.
Right.
And they can.
I have a dual core laptop I could test that on.
It could be interesting. We could hop back into the BSD land, do midnight BSD.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that could be a fun ride. So
And on top of the list, you got Ubuntu itself.
that's a beta. When it comes out. Now, if someone wants to do
yes.
if someone wants to do
Beta.
something with that and tell us their experience, there's no, that's not like I'm going to say no, because what have you been Linuxing? I've been testing the beta. Cool. Well, tell us about it. See how that works. See.
I will be actually, because there's actually three Ubuntu derivatives that I'm interested in. And one of them is Ubuntu Chillin, because the desktop is constantly evolving. Same with Lubuntu. And now Ubuntu proper is actually on this one using the GNOME 40 desktop. So I'm interested to see how that's working as well.
So talking about the Ubuntu's, the base, the first, I think, version they have on Wikipedia, it says it was based on Ubuntu 10.04. Then it was based on Ubuntu 10.04, then Xubuntu 12.04, then Xubuntu 14.04, and then Debian 8, and it's been Debian ever since.
Right.
I wonder why they went to Debian after that.
Rock solid.
Rock solid.
Yep. Rock
Slow
solid.
change.
I mean, it's so rock solid, it's boring. Trust me, I've been on it for a couple of years now. Nothing happens there that you got to fix.
Mm.
It's good to know.
Are we interested in Ubuntu? So we seem to be talking about it a little bit longer than anything else.
Because
at the moment.
I think because it's different.
Hmm.
If people are interested, we can spin the wheel, like we did sometimes in the middle.
I didn't know we had a wheel. When did we introduce the wheel?
I don't. Eris, do you have a wheel? I don't have a wheel, but if you have a wheel, I say big money, big money, big money.
Rocco had a software one.
That's right.
We just need a list, and then we just go to random.org and make it pick a number between that number list. We did that, I think, 3 times in Biddle.
Yeah.
We got cubes one of the times. People hated it.
I hope it lands on $1. No.
All right. Well, I'm going to start filling that out. So you guys chat amongst yourselves while I do. It said random.org.
Yeah, you can assign like a number, like a number between 1 and 100, let's say, and then you just click and it does it for you. It does a very strong way of generating a random number. So it's not just a simple web page. I'm not sure, like There's a top 100 in DistroWatch if you want to do it that way. And it just pick a number between 1 and 100. Or we could pick some distro.
All right. So that's a little more complicated to get started than I anticipated. So, so I'd say between Emma Buntus and Sparky. Let's see who would want to go one or the other. Anybody? Any have a preference between those two?
No, they both look great.
Okay. But thanks, Jinder. That was helpful. All right. Let's I'll go with the older one. Let's check out Sparky. And then next week, if there's anything more interesting, we can do Emma Buntus.
Sparky
So-
the Hedgehog.
Yeah, this way we don't have to worry about like I don't want to belabor the point and get more people to click to close the tab on this as we talk about this.
One thing interesting about a Sparky is that it has a lot of desktops, like way more than I think than Debian has.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Well, it's based on Debian, so I'm interested. So I guess when we're exploring that one, maybe look at some of the underlying tools to see what they have included in there. That might be more interesting to focus on that maybe a little bit. Since it's Debian based, everything that's in the Debian repos will be available. And maybe evaluate some of the versions of your favorite applications, and then we'll see how it goes. All right. So since Adam's here, the thing I really wanted him to come in and talk about was some very exciting news happened this week. I'm sure if you were in the Twitterverse or on the, I don't know, wherever people hang out these days on the onlines. It's one of the biggest hurdles for Linux gaming may have disappeared. Has anybody heard
It's
this?
all over the place.
So it's all over the place beyond the
It has to do with
Twitterverse.
The anti-cheats.
Yeah.
Yes. So, what I mean, this to me came out of left field and bonked me on the head when I saw this. I'm like, wow, this is pretty wild news. Who would have thought that
I kinda
this
saw
would be a
coming,
thing?
Actually,
Really?
yeah.
Do
they
tell.
were- well, a couple of things. One, they had mentioned it earlier in the year that they had been like the beginning of the year roughly, that they had been working with Valve had been working with both BattlEye and Easy Anti-Cheat and Epic and whoever else owns BattlEye, probably Tencent by now, but working with these people to make sure that they can get the anti-cheats working on Linux and also through Proton, because if I recall, BattlEye and maybe Easy Anti-Cheat always worked. BattlEye. BattlEye was available for Linux binaries, but not Proton. And Easy Anti-Cheat's always been problematic. But like having these available allows people to play Windows games now. But you also kind of saw it coming because Valve is touting the Steam Deck, and some of the most popular games on Steam are have anti-cheat, right? And so they've only, as far as I know, they've only announced that they got Easy Anti-Cheat working with Epic, but BattlEye is still a very important anti-cheat as well. A big game that's on Steam that tons of people play is Destiny 2. They recently announced that they switched their anti-cheat to BattlEye. So to get that big game, they would have to have BattlEye working as well. And of course, the developers have to opt into it, at least with EAC. But I don't know, I kind of saw this coming. It was just more of a matter of when rather than if. It was a necessity. Like there's no way they could get around. There's no way they could launch another Linux-based hardware platform and it not have that, because you're just gonna have Steam machines all over again.
So it says that according to this article I read that BattlEye is inbound.
Yeah.
Does that mean to?
That means they're still working with them, but that it's working. It's on its way basically. Because they announced that they were working with these two way earlier in the year, and now they're finally getting somewhere with it.
Why do you think
it can't be an easy solution? It has to be an extremely difficult thing to pull off. But that's why I'm not employed for that, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, so if it's already one that's been working for Linux binaries, I wonder what the difficulty is for porting it over to Proton. It seems like that would be an
So it's a matter of-
easier.
Well, a lot of these Easy Anti-Cheat, BattleEye, and a couple others like Riot Games has their own. They're like kernel level, they're kernel level anti-cheats. So like they read they don't just like read like user memory. They read kernel memory. They read very low level stuff in your operating system. And when you're using something like Wine and Proton, the low level stuff doesn't really match up, right?
Hmm.
So you have like essentially you'll have like a Linux kernel with some translation in between the Linux and Windows calls, but then according to the game you have like a Windows user land, and so when you run a Windows game that expects a Windows kernel and a Windows kind of base system to exist, and the two are not congruent, it throws up a red flag of like, oh wait a second, like this is modified from what it's supposed to be, so bail out, right?
I
Hmm.
wonder. Do you think that they're gonna be able to get this by the end of the year? By the time the
Or they'll have
Steam
to,
Deck
yeah.
launches?
It'll be dead on arrival if they don't at least get one of them. Yeah.
But one of them looks
Well,
like it's
Easy
done.
Anti-Cheat
Or
is available, right? But
right.
like, yeah, if they don't get BattleEye, I don't think it's dead in the water, but it'll be a rough start. It'll be kind of a Stadia-esque launch if they can't get that one done before it launches.
Right. So do you think all this is happening because of the Steam Deck? Think this is all part of the master plan?
Yeah.
Steam Deck, get excitement,
Yeah.
easy anti-cheat.
I think largely this is driven by the Steam Deck, and I think the sort of happy accident of sorts is that this strengthens their sort of hedge against Microsoft and Windows and everything else.
This is like a very long road to get to this point. I mean, the Steam Deck was what 10 years ago that they or was that 8, 9? How many years ago was the Steam Deck? They launched that. It was early.
You mean the Steam machines?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, the Steam
Yeah, I think it was
machines.
2015. Yeah,
Oh, 2015. Okay.
it's been about 6 years. Yeah, the Steam came to Linux, I believe, in 2013. Was so you say this take a while, but admittedly, these kernel level anti cheats have not been around that long. Like maybe 4 years, 5 years at most. Like these kind of things are a pretty recent thing, and you could argue, yeah, it's taken a while, but like I said earlier, it cannot be a simple thing. It has to be an extremely difficult thing, especially when you're talking about Linux, right? Because like, how do you account for all the different kernels that are running? How do you account for all the different like this is a system D system, this is whatever, and that's why they're targeting the Steam Deck primarily. I would not be surprised if I don't know if it's the case, so don't quote me on it, but I would not be surprised if these Easy Anti-Cheat and BattleEye integrations are limited to Steam OS, because that way it's a static target, very similar to like a console or Windows, for example, which doesn't have that many iterations underneath. And if they can limit it to SteamOS, then it's a lot easier to target for when to tell the anti-cheat like this is what to expect, right? Rather than like, hey, expect a bazillion different distros. Good luck, like
Yeah.
I think it's important that they focus on one or a couple targets for their release, because it's gonna be a mess otherwise, and the developers will get frustrated when well, I'm getting support tickets from, MX over here saying it doesn't work, but then I, look over here and Fedora says this other thing doesn't work and that this error, it just be a mess. And the game developers are already, kind of stressed for time just making the game and working on the game. They're going to be like, well, this isn't worth it. I'm just going to turn that off, right? But if they limit it to SteamOS, maybe Ubuntu, or very limited releases, then it'll be a lot easier to swallow for the devs.
I think it probably depends on how it interacts. Because I mean,
Yeah, of course.
right, so
I'm not entirely sure. Like,
yeah, so I know there was a new glibc that came through in the recently, as in like the last snapshot in Tumbleweed, and everything's fine. Zoom is obviously fine because I didn't do any changes to that. My app images are fine, but all my snaps are broken. So
yeah,
I can't imagine that. Like, so this machine's updated. This one's not because I need Chromium and I use the Snap all the time because it's just easier. So this one's not going to update until glibc updates, and
Yeah.
good times.
They're basing the Steam Deck off of Arch, right?
Right,
But
which rolls a lot
and
faster
I-
than anything.
Yeah, but I think it's based on Arch. And again, conjecture. I have no idea how it's actually put together, and we won't find out till the thing ships. But I would imagine that they're using either some kind of like RPM OS tree kind of thing, like some kind of you know, like a sort of, I can't think of the word off the top of my head, but whatever, like
Immutable.
an immutable, that's the word. Yeah, an immutable host, like, and then they'll just ship sort of like chunks, of it, sort of like your smartphones do or Chrome OS does, right? Like it will update it in that way, and it's based on Arch, probably because of like the slim nature of Arch, the customizability of Arch, the presence of systemd, for example, things like that that are very probably important to them getting it working properly. But I highly doubt that they're going to have like the constant rolling randomness of Arch. Like,
No, it'll be their own custom build.
yeah, it'll just be an absolute mess if they let the Arch.
I mean, the
repos
kernel's
come
only
out.
got to have the stuff in it for the Steam Deck hardware. It don't have to have everything under the sun that's for sale.
Well, that's actually not true because you can plug in many things into the USB-C port. In fact, they specifically touted the ability to dock the Steam Deck and use it as a PC.
Yeah, but you
so
don't have to have printer drivers and all that installed
that.
in it, do you?
You say that, but yeah, I think it's just
Probably
gonna
will be.
I think it'll be like a pretty standard kernel with some additions rather than subtraction.
I think it'd be very interesting to see how that works. I'm tempted just to put Tumbleweed on it, just because that's
Yeah,
what I'd probably do.
It's all speculation until we get our hands on one.
absolutely. Yep. So we can
So-
bust one open.
How many here have put down on the Steam Deck? Anybody here?
I got too much game stuff already.
Me too. I game on this machine right here pretty much.
Eris, did you put down on the Steam Deck?
No, I didn't. I'd have the
I
money.
did. So I did on the day of when the whole thing was crashing, when Steam's stuff was crashing. Well, their servers were crashing from the load of people trying to buy it, which amazes me because a lot of people use Steam. You think all the time.
I use Steam. That's how I game on this thing.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm excited. Like I've not been excited about a new piece of hardware ever in my life. Like I've just not cared. But I was this close to buying a Nintendo Switch for a portable like a portable like Linuxy thing, like, and hack it. And this actually basically solved that. And I'm interested in seeing how productive it can be with such a thing. Is it something you could actually use for fun and for productivity? I wonder. I mean,
Fun on
the
the
screens.
go productivity when you get to a desk. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting thing to see. I mean, it'd be way cooler if it was like Commodore 64 beige gray. That'd be make it better because it's black. Everything's black now, but beige. That'd be pretty. That'd be the cat's pajamas right there.
I would like to see beige come back. Like,
Yeah,
black and white's basically all we get these days with occasional
it's true.
custom whatevers, but I'd
Or
like to see
silvers. We
beige.
get a lot of silvers.
Yeah.
See, like
had
I
the
don't
money
mind.
to either buy a Steam Deck or buy a 2K monitor. I went for the 2K monitor.
Is it beige?
The beige.
It's a
CRT.
beige. No,
Oh man, bummer.
1440.
I don't think beige is a nice color.
Underrated.
Yeah, I think it's totally underrated. Bring beige back. That's my slogan right now. If I run for office at Steam or Valve, I should say. Bring beige back. Well, cool. So I'm as far as like AAA titles, are they all pretty much using something like anti-cheat and or Bullseye or Battle Eye? Sorry,
No,
not
no.
Bullseye.
Not all of them. There's a good number that are not. But there's also a good number that are using their own custom thing. So that's a whole nother thing, right? They're not necessarily Steam games. That's the key here, because this is very much tied to the Steam Deck.
Mhm.
It's not a matter of Valve trying to acquire every anti-cheat for every game ever. It's about running games that are on Steam. So, while yes, EAC will be, available and working in Steam on the Steam Deck or wherever they run it, that doesn't necessarily guarantee it's going to work with, say, Fortnite. That might have it has a separate launcher in the Epic Game Store, or they're not really targeting the anti-cheat in something like Call of Duty or Valorant or something else that might, they have their own custom thing. So it's really just a matter of like, we have games on Steam. We need to sell our games on Steam. This is how we do it.
Hmm. Yeah, I find this very interesting. It seems like there's a lot of shifting. I don't know. Do you think this is gonna be successful? Do you see this as being a successful venture, Adam?
I'm not very good at predicting the future. So I would like it to be successful, and I think it will be. I think it'll be at least moderately successful at the beginning, but whether or not it has sort of the staying power of, an Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo, you know, piece of hardware, that's another thing, right? Because
Yeah, it's
there is still a compromise here, right? Like you are unless you install Windows on it, you are only getting Steam, and there are a lot of people who play Overwatch. There are a lot of people who play Call of Duty. There are a lot of people who play World of Warcraft or all these other games. Anything in the Epic Store, right? Fortnite's huge.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of other newer battle royales that are coming out and other things. Like there's plenty of games that people play outside of Steam that they will want to play, and I kind of see a good portion of the people who buy the Steam Deck just installing Windows on it, just because they're gonna try on Linux, right? They're gonna try Steam OS. They're gonna be like, this is great, but then they're gonna hit they're gonna hit that game. Man, I wish I could play some Overwatch on this. Man, I wish I could play Call of Duty on this. I wish I could play Valorant on this. And then they're gonna be like, well, I can install Windows. There it goes.
It'd be interesting if you can put Windows 11 on it with the TPM requirement.
Not sure.
I doubt it wouldn't have a TPM because like
it has a firmware TPM in the CPU.
Yeah, so you should be fine.
Yeah, it'll probably be Windows. It'll definitely be because it's a third generation Ryzen, I believe. It's in there. Third or fifth, I don't know. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's new enough. That's what the point is.
So the original Steam for Linux was released February 14th, 2013. I don't know how long Steam was around before that. And then 2004. And then 2015 was the first Steam OS machine. And then 2021 will be the Steam Deck. I don't know. It's interesting to see how this.
Steam is just trying to really steam this out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I feel like they're okay. I mean this nicely. I'm a big fan of Linux. Obviously, I mean I don't talk about Linux every week because I think I despise it. But it almost seems to me like square peg round hole on this one, doesn't it? Like it's like we keep trying our bang. Is it just like eventually get a Kool-Aid man through the wall and oh yeah, and it's finally here, or?
Look at it this way. Everybody I know that actually plays games on PC has a Steam account and a Steam launcher on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A Steam Deck has that on it too, except it's portable. They can take it to school if they want, take it to the doctor's office. It'll have their same Steam account on it.
But to use your analogy of a
Kool-Aid man
and a round peg there.
Yeah.
Well, that does make sense. Like, you keep trying to put that square peg in the round hole and it's just not going in all the way, right? But Valve's strategy is if they push enough, they'll make a square for it to go in.
Or are they gonna wobble the edges off of that square and it's gonna round a little bit?
Yep. And whatever they gotta do.
Well, let's face it, we all got really high hopes for this thing.
Yeah, I have really high hopes. Actually, I don't even care if anti-cheat works. I don't think there's a AAA game that I play. As long as I can do my emulation, I can play like Super Mario World on it because it's the best Mario game ever. Joe?
There aren't all AAA games. Like Fall Guys, for example. That's not a AAA game, and that uses easy anti-cheat. So
You know, I play a lot of games too, also that are not actually AAA anti-cheat games too. World of Warships. A lot of old people like me play that game very seriously.
And that has anti-cheat on it?
Cyberpunk 2077 plays great on Linux. They've come out with so many patches now that it actually runs right. Euro Truck Simulator, American Truck Simulator, Elder Scrolls, just all kinds of stuff like that. Grand Theft Auto 5, all these titles, Project Cars 2 and 3. And all these games are not, you know, really AAA games, but people play them and they play great on Linux.
I remember when GTA 5 came out about 15 years ago, and we're still getting DLC to this day. It's incredible how they've
It's
how
the
they've just
hugest
kept that
game on my
alive.
hard drive. It's 110 gigabytes.
Oh yeah, it's chunky.
I think the largest game I have or had installed was Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
Mm.
It was like 230 gig, I think, something like that. Yeah, pretty ridiculous. You know, I don't think Activision knows that compression's a thing, but I could be wrong.
People like me on DSL, man, that's like downloading it for a week.
Joe, you're all wrong on that one.
I don't game, so my Linux is easy.
A game on console, so it makes it easier. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So then, do you think this is gonna become like a 4-horse race? Do you think it's actually going to be a race between you know, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, and Nintendo? Do you think it's gonna be like a 4-horse race coming up here? Or do you think Steam is going to be still pretty far behind?
I don't think that's how these companies see it anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have kind of already drawn their line in the sand, as it were. Like, you can look at sales of the current consoles as a good example of that. There's people that there are a contingent of people who switch between Xbox and PlayStation, but there are loads of people who just stick with PlayStation because they've always stuck with PlayStation. The same thing with the Xbox. Like, oh, you know, I got a 360 when I was young, so I've always just had an Xbox because there's that momentum, right? And the same thing with PC. Like, you know, the name of the game now is like crossplay and cross save, those kind of things, cross progression. The idea of taking away the importance of the platform and bringing people together. So there are a lot of games, Call of Duty, for example. You can play cross-play with Call of Duty, so people on PC can play with people on Xbox or PlayStation. Minecraft, you know, there's plenty of ways to play Minecraft across platforms. There's cross progression and cross save. So like Destiny 2, for example, if I fire up Destiny 2 on PC and do some things and then close it out, if I fire it up on Stadia or on my Xbox, all of the stuff that I did on PC is there waiting for me. So a lot of companies and game developers and stuff are focusing less on like we need to like focus on this, or this platform needs to beat this or whatever, and they're just like, how do we make the most money? We get the most people playing our game. So if there's only X number of people on PlayStation that are going to play the game, there's X number of people on PC and Xbox that are going to play the game. Well, if we can say, well, you guys on Xbox can play with the PlayStation guys, then people who have like friends with different things are suddenly now buying the game. So you've opened up the game to more people who are going to buy your game and buy your DLC and buy your microtransactions and whatnot. And by having this sort of platform unity, you open up the avenues for better experiences for players and better experiences for your pocketbook.
Before we had the internet and you had a PlayStation or something like that, like I had a PlayStation, the first generation one, then I got a 2. And the only way, was to go to the video store and rent a game and play it for a week and see if it was worth spending the $30 to buy it. Because you couldn't watch on Twitch someone else playing it for an hour, decide if you like to do that or not.
Oh, I remember renting Kirby's Epic Yarn for the Wii back in the day, and that from Blockbuster, that was it. That was the life right there.
Blockbuster.
That's a blast from the past, I suppose. Maybe they'll come back with and rent records. You know, that's a thing, right? Records, vinyl. Who knows?
I have vinyl records. I still play them. I like to go to record stores and go crate digging.
I find they make good frisbees.
Coasters
Lately,
with little ones.
lately, if you have some records, they've gone up significantly in value. If you got some good ones.
45s are the little ones, right?
Yeah, that's jukebox material.
There we go.
There are people that do collect those too, though.
I've got a bunch of those. I got Benny King. That's my favorite one actually, and I got a little player for it too. And I play that every night.
I actually got some of the cereal box cutouts. I got a couple of the Archies. And I came across these doing a crate dig at a store in Ann Arbor. They have 4 record stores there. And I'm flipping through all these little 45s. And also I come across this piece of cardboard. And I flip it over and it's a cardboard cutout from a cereal box. And they only wanted like $1 for them. So I got them for memorabilia.
Yeah, that was remember the show Elf?
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
There was
They're back.
there was I cannot remember how I got it. I think it was maybe like a Burger King or something when I was a kid. But they had a record. It was a Take Me Out to the Ball Game record that with Elf. But it's like they hit fish instead of baseballs, I guess, on his home planet. Anyway, I remember I had this record. I played it all the time, and my mother got tired of me playing it, and she took it off and ripped it.
Oh.
So anyway, I should bring that up, Mom. That's fine. I'm not mad about it. I bet it's on the YouTube somewhere. Welcome, Steve.
Oh, Steve,
How is
Hi, Steve.
how is the least punchable face on the internet?
least? You get the wrong word.
Obviously, he's having.
He's not even here. I like to kick him when they're down.
Nice to have you, Steve.
Thank you, buddy. Nice to be here.
I guess that means you're done with dinner.
Yes, sir.
Oh, good.
Made burgers and Northwestwood nachos, big steak fries and spicy cheddar cheese sauce and jalapenos and.
Did you go out?
No, I picked up some frozen fries and that, but big a can of the Frito spicy jalapeno cheddar sauce.
Oh, so you made a really good dinner for yourself at home.
But my son, him, I made a pizza burger for.
Awesome. I'm going to tell you about my adventures with hamburgers and Wendy's because I ain't going there to eat anymore. Costs too much. $9 for a number one.
Yeah,
That's about right.
Yeah.
McDonald's raised their coffee was, just their medium is like the price of a Dunkin' Donuts now, $1.99.
I stopped working.
$2.49.
I stopped working in 2018, and I used to eat a lot of fast food for lunch. And number one was something like $5, and to actually, wake up. It's like waking up like a century later or something like that, and everything's super inflated. And that's what I feel like I got with the Wendy's hamburger.
Well, what can you do?
I really wanted Kentucky Fried Chicken, but the lobby was locked, and the line around to go through the drive-through was like into tomorrow.
Well, maybe just get Chick-fil-A tomorrow. Oh wait, you can't.
I mean, they had like 15 cars waiting to get a chicken dinner. I couldn't wait that long. I was hungry.
Yeah, Taco Bell on my way home. Wasn't that
One
exciting?
thing about Taco Bell, their tacos, I can sit down and eat them things and never feel truly full.
Yeah, that's the way they design them.
That's good
It's actually my
business.
favorite part about them because I love just eating tacos. So like I will just slam 6 or 7 of them in one sitting. It's the best feeling. I never feel guilty about it because like I can't feel any of it.
The ones
Peter,
from a really good Mexican restaurant though are the best.
Oh yeah, with the properly shredded beef. Oh,
Yes.
so good.
Properly done stuff.
That's hard to find.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of them here because
I got
we're,
one
we're-
here.
It's your new food show, Nate?
It is. Yep. Linux and food.
In return,
So-
I don't have a Chinese restaurant anywhere within 20 miles.
Oh, that sucks.
That does, man. That burns.
So it's Taco Bell, something I like to have once a month. It's kind of my it's my trash food delight that I'll allow myself to have once a month. Just because that's like the trash food that I like the most. It's
well,
their
the next
breakfast.
time you go, they
Yes.
have Cinnabon in like little like.
I've had those.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're so good.
Yeah, it's I only had them once and I will never have them again because they are so good that like I lost my mind for a moment. And I think it's downright evil that they have such things. That
They're unreasonably good.
cream, yes. That cream cheese filling or whatever it is, like that
Yeah.
that I don't know what it is on the inside.
He's
But
aware.
it's probably some sort of an illicit drug, actually, I think.
Get you hooked on it, so get another one.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I think because you get 4 in a package, I believe, when you order them. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, there's 4, and because my son used to get them all the time.
Yeah.
4
I
and a
think
12.
4 and 12, yeah.
Okay. Well, when I had it, they didn't have a 12, but they just had the 4s. So I bought 1 pack, and like it's like I the part of your brain that it's the hippocampus that tells you not to do things that are bad for you, like completely shut off. And I went and I got like 2 or 3 more orders of it, and I ate them and had the worst sugar headache in my life. So I think now that's just it's not even a good idea for me to even have them at all. Like some people, they have other addiction problems that they have to not not partake in maybe frothy libations because they lose their mind. So for me, it's there's Taco Bell heroin balls. I can't have
No,
those.
they are honestly so good. Like I got 24 of them because I was like, okay, I'll eat 12 and then I'll like share the other 12 with some coworkers. And there were like 8 left out of all of them when I got to work. Like I was literally just one by one eating them in the car. Like by the time you finish one, you don't even realize there's another one in your hand. It's so good.
Yeah, very dangerous stuff. Very dangerous. Well, good times. Went from Steam Deck to food. So I'm gonna make sticky Steam Decks here.
So this concludes food review.
And what not to do. So speaking of games, are there any games here that people like? Any new games that people have been playing that that they want to share with the class? Yes, please.
So it's technically not a new game, but it's one that I rediscovered, and it's called Little Alchemy. And I used to absolutely love this game when I was little. And the reason I thought of this is because I think last week we talked about some kind of like God box or God simulator. I don't know what was it we were talking. Yeah, that thing. But I was just like, I remember a game from when I was younger, and it was basically like you would mix certain elements together and stuff. And then I finally found it, and it was like it's called Little Alchemy. They have it on like a website, but you can also get an app on your phone. And basically you mix like dirt with water and you make something else, and then oh my god, it's a simple cute little game with like a million different things you can make. It's so fun. So I've been playing that nonstop. I play it at work. Don't tell my manager. I play it all over the place. It's so good.
I guarantee he doesn't watch this. What would you say is what makes it a unique game Like what is the play element that you would say that makes it something that has replayability or keeps you hooked or whatnot?
So I'd say that it comes down to it being so easy to pick up, but also being so something that you can continue at any time. But there's so much to it. Like every single combination is like another chain of potential combinations, and it's like a puzzle essentially that never ends, and it doesn't ever feel frustrating, I think. So it's just really, really easy, but there's plenty to do.
Would you say you
Total time sink.
Yeah, okay, so time sync. So is it like the same kind of time sync you'd have like with a game of solitaire or mines?
I'd say
Like you
I'd
play
say
it a
it's a
little bit
little
here and then
yeah, you could kind of pick it up and drop it just like that, but I'd say that it has a little more benefit in terms of it's something that where you could save progress.
okay.
Whereas like with solitaire, it's kind of fresh almost every time. Whereas
Right.
this, it's like a progression over time.
Okay. It's interesting. I'm always fascinated by what people play, how people like, because you have to have one of those like mental resets, like a way of like unplugging for a bit out of the crazy and then plugging back in, like a kind of a personal reset. So I'm interested in hearing what like people
I've been
play,
trying
if
to
anything
get
at
to
all.
the end of Cyberpunk 2077.
Sounds like it
that is
hasn't happened
a
yet.
lot of content for a game. For what you pay for it, already got like 200 hours into it. And
Wow.
it's about it's in the future, 2077. It's a city called Night City on the West Coast, and it's half gone through nuclear war, and the city's built back up, and it's run by more like corporations and government. You get outside the city limits, there's trash piled 100 miles high or 100 feet high or more. I mean, it's kind of a depressing game when you look at the actual city and the stuff around outside of it. But you basically play a guy that people hire to go clean up jobs and stuff like that, like go rescue somebody from a gang, or take out a gang, or it's one of them kind of games. It's got a lot of activity in it. You drive a car if you want to drive a car to one location to another, or you use one of the transporter stations because they're everywhere in the game, and just beam yourself to another place. And when the funny thing about the game is that when you complete a particular side job, it'll generate a fresh one for you if you're running low on jobs, just right out of the blue. And I haven't there's like 3 main jobs that you do to complete the game, then all the other jobs like helping the police with stuff and things like that, that's all side work. But you use the side work to gain components and weapons, because as you're going through the game and you go like take out a complete gang, you pick up all the guns and junk and everything on the ground and collect that stuff. And then you break it down when you get to the point where it's too much to carry, and you actually get components to beef up the stuff that you do have, or make fresh guns, fresh stuff like that. But in the beginning of the game, you go do a heist, and people have all these cybernetic implants all over their bodies. Like if one person's missing an arm, they got a metal one. And people have processors on their heads. Well, you do this job, you steal this shard, and they almost, try and catch him with the shard. And his friend says, stick it in your port in your head. And he sticks it in his port's head, and it's someone else's consciousness. And it gets downloaded into his brain. And the main character is V, and then the other character is Johnny Silverman. And Johnny Silverman was like a rock star from 25 years before that. And these two like go back and forth and everything else throughout the whole game in one head. It's the game's kind of really out there.
Yeah, I've heard of Cyberpunk before.
This one's pretty good. It took them a long time to actually get it playable, though. I bought it last I got it last year around Christmas, and in June they finally come out with a patch to fix the bug that was stopping me from playing it in Linux. That's when you got to the heist at the beginning of the game. The entire screen would go dark except the game HUD, and you couldn't see where you're going or nothing like that. And it was particularly prone for people that had NVIDIA cards. If you had an AMD card and you had the latest Mesa stuff and all that, you were good for that. But I got hung up for half a year playing that game, and I just sat on it. I was going to return it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll fix it sooner or later."
Yeah, okay. So Jinda just okay. All right. Between Jinda and Eris, they shared a game called Numpty Physics.
Numpty Physics.
Yeah. So the link to get the RPM isn't good on that site. I don't know when the last time it's been updated. However, somebody in the OpenSUSE community is keeping it alive, and it is downloadable for OpenSUSE. Anyway, it's very interesting looking game. It uses CRAN physics. I don't know what that means, but that's enough to make me laugh right there. And I'm going to keep this. Yeah, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep this tab open because I find that very funny.
I think both Jinda and Eris, and maybe even you, Nate, would probably enjoy another little game. It's called Powder Toy.
Powder Toy.
It's a little physics sandbox that's also incredible. So good. It's available as a snap, but I think it's also available I think it might be available in OpenSUSE, but I don't know. But it's great. It runs on Linux, Windows, Mac, whatever.
I'm sorry, what's it called again?
Powder Toy.
Powder Toy.
So it's a little physics sandbox with pixels, and so you can sort of like create things out of certain materials. It's got electricity, it's got like thermal conductivity, it's got physics for gravity, for air currents, for thermal expansion. It's actually surprisingly complex, but it's an incredible game. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's in OpenSUSE. It's available for OpenSUSE as well.
I knew it would be.
Yeah. I see. These are games I had no idea that even existed. These are fun.
So good.
If you're a gamer, it makes it kind of a lot harder to be a distro hopper, because to actually take this to another distro and set it all up again is very time consuming. I got a text file that's got a list of all the Steam numbers and the games that are associated with them. I actually had to put all the Proton numbers, which ones work best with that game, along with that, and all the command line stuff you got to add in the Steam command line to start the game to make them run right. Because everybody assumes that the games will run on the latest Proton. They do not.
I just keep like Steam stuff on a separate drive.
I do have all the games on this separate drive, but when you install a fresh version of Steam, the command line stuff and all that, unless you know where that file is or how to transport that from one.
Oh yeah, I transfer those as well.
I don't know how to do that. I had to hand manually all set that up, plus put the Protons in that worked best with that game. I also have Wine Lutris and Play on Linux installed too, and have games on those.
So there's a game that my kid is interested in. I'm not sure how I feel about it, because I'm not into these kind of games. But have you heard of FNAF?
Oh yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's. These like really strange animatronics. And it's a little bit creepy.
It actually terrifies me. Like I cannot play that game. I'm like, because we got this thing called Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know if that's a thing other people have.
Oh, we have one in Flint.
I think they've been out. I think they've been outlawed.
They've been outlawed.
There's still one in Portage.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I'm not.
There's
worst pizza ever.
True.
To make it worse, by the way, I went to the store yesterday. As I was walking down the freezer aisle, you will not believe what I saw. Chuck E. Cheese frozen pizza. They sell it in the grocery store. Like nobody has ever been like, oh wow, I could really go for some Chuck E. Cheese pizza. How is there a market for this?
Just like the frozen White Castles. That's probably where they got the idea.
Yeah, but at least that's good.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like they have frozen Chuck E. Cheese pizza, so you can be disappointed at home too.
That's right.
Well, I think it's a
Oh, it's-
battle of who the worst. Is it CC's or is it Chuck E. Cheese's? You ever had
I don't-
CC's pizza?
I've never had CC's.
I went there
Although-
once.
So all you can eat pizza
Long time
place
ago.
started out in Texas. They used to do a like $2.99 all you can eat pizza down there, but like for $5. I know it's went up a bit. They have it's
So it's all you can stand to eat. Is that what it is?
Yeah. They,
when you would
They
go
didn't last
somewhere and
very
even
long
the
here.
salad, the bag salad is not great. But my son, he likes pizza in any form or any style, and he just loves it because you can eat all you want.
So Nessa's watching, just so you know, and I'm gonna cut out about half what she said because it's not appropriate. But she thinks Chuck E. Cheese is the worst. She said it is burnt cardboard.
oh yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
It's burnt cardboard with a little
So-
sauce on it.
Third party opinion. There you go.
Yeah, but when you got little kids and they have no taste buds and it's cheap,
Well, then you just give them dirt.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I've been playing, me personally, like not I don't really like mobile games, I find, but it's still been kind of the staples around here. The Minecraft, 'cause I think Minecraft is still just fun. It's amazing how old it is, and it's still quite enjoyable, and they keep adding things
People
to
are
it.
still into that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They got dolphins. They got sea turtles. The sea turtles can lay eggs and they make baby turtles.
Ooh.
There's like the 20 different types of fish and they can like crossbreed. And there's coral of all different colors. There's sunken ships. Have I told
Yes,
you
I
that
thought that
like
was interesting.
Minecraft?
No, never. I'm impressed that they keep adding to it and keeping it interesting, even after all these years.
I just don't
So-
get Minecraft.
Here's the thing. Here's what I like about Minecraft. So, I love Legos. Legos I think are great. I enjoy them, but I do not enjoy. Okay, there we go. See, but I don't enjoy stepping on them. So, so if I can have my kids do Lego-y type things on the computer sometimes, so I don't have to clean up the living room. I see. There we go. I feel like it's a win. I mean, Legos are great, but I think the great thing about Minecraft is the ability to be creative. How many toys do you have at your desk?
What about
Far
when you
too
find
many.
out? What about when you find out that Minecraft Legos exist?
They do.
I
yes.
have plenty of those too, and I like it because after the kids are tired of whatever set that they built out of Minecraft set, I take them, see, and then I put them with my stuff. See, it works out great. It's like it's a win-win-win. And since they didn't watch this, they don't know my little secret.
Indentured servitude. I like it.
Yeah, sort of.
Legos don't sound good when you get one stuck in the vacuum cleaner.
No, they don't. But don't vacuum Legos.
Or
They
in the cat.
it kind of sounds like a muffled version of the intro to Land Down Under.
I was thinking
Hear
about
it
a
in
bag
my
of
head.
ice in the blender.
That's good.
Yeah, that's very funny.
so my son does a lot of Gary's Mod on Steam, and he's always downloading stuff for it.
What's it called?
Gary's Mod. So I believe you make your own game from it.
Oh, yeah.
Gary's Mod
Gary's
is really
Mod?
cool because it's like any game you want it to be.
Yeah. And that's what really like when he was using the main computer with like Peppermint on it, and then I told him Steam was on there to use it, and at first like and then he found out, I don't know he was talking to a friend or something on Discord. But he's like all excited. Dad, Gary's mod works in Linux. Yeah. And
It's
now
only,
he's just having all sorts of fun with his using Steam more on the Linux desktop than he is on Windows.
It's only $10, $9.99 plus tax. I'm sure.
Pretty
I'm
neat.
sure that is cool.
Came out a long time ago. It was originally like a mod, hence the name. It was originally a mod for Half-Life 2, and then eventually it kind of morphed into its own game, kind of like Counter-Strike did.
It's funny too because it's like it's super buggy, but that's part of what makes
Yeah,
it
that's the
enjoyable.
charm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's because it's just, works is such a strong word. Like, yeah.
Well, that makes it even more charming. I know there's some. I don't know if you ever played SimCity 2000, like 20 years
Oh,
ago
yeah.
ish.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they had all these different like little games that related, like Simcopter, Sim
Tower and all that. Yeah.
Sim Tower. But there was like a sim racing game. I can't remember what it was called. but-
SimCity Racers.
Is that what it was? But you could race around
think
your
so, yeah.
city, and I loved that game. There was a Back to the Future DeLorean mod you could import, and then it had a hover ability, so you could actually like hover around and jump and all kinds of fun stuff. Man, I played. I put a lot. I invested. I'm saying invested a lot of hours into that game because it was so much fun. I spent time just building cities, then just around the idea of doing, the sim racing or whatever it was called.
Streets of SimCity.
Streets of SimCity. There we go. Yeah, I invested all that
You
time. I
built
can't remember what it's
Pearl
called.
Valley?
I was thinking of Lego Racers. I don't know why, but yeah.
Like, Lego Racers is what Schickel's doing in his room right there already. He's got it plenty for that. Well, it is. Go ahead.
So I was just gonna say, if any of you like Lego lovers who also like playing computer games, I don't know if it's still around, but there used to be a website called like Lego Club or something like that, but they had
Yeah.
like all kinds of games. And there was like a Lego Star Wars one that I used to play back in the day. Oh, that was it right there.
So I looked up Streets of SimCity, Nate. GameSpot gave it a 4.4 out of 10, and Next Generation
sounds about right.
Magazine gave it a 1 out of 5.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Yeah.
That's on par for the things that I like. There's really popular AAA games that are out, like the Call of Duty, the Halo. I'm like, Streets of SimCity.
Impeccably terrible, right?
Right. I have a terrible taste in games, and I am fine with that. I'm
Play
totally.
Big Rigs if you haven't.
Is that another terrible game?
It's hilarious actually. You'll like it.
Yeah, I guess I like
Big
terrible
Rigs
games.
over the road racing. You'll love it.
What could possibly go wrong with such an idea?
You can go in reverse at like thousands of kilometers an hour.
Well,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be able to go thousands of kilometers an hour, but okay.
No, you can't go that fast forward. Just reverse.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's more fun that way.
No chance of jackknifing, right?
There's no trailer, so yeah, you're good.
Oh, see, that'd be funnier if it was with a trailer.
Nor there really much of anything else, but yeah, you'll see.
All right, what was that called again?
That was Big Rigs Over the Road Racing. Feel free to just look up a YouTube video of it. That's really all you need
All
because
right.
there's very little to the game.
All right, I have that. I'm good to go. I'll check that out. Well, it is that time to do the final word, and so we'll go around. Eris, last word, bud.
Thank you very much for the show, everybody involved, especially Nate and Jinda for all the links. Oh,
Yeah.
and the conversation continues during the week. If you want to join the Telegram, t.me/Big Daddy Linux Live. Again, t.me/Big Daddy Linux Live.
Nicest group of people out there on the interwebs, I would say. Or,
Steven?
we don't. Well, okay, mostly the nicest group of people.
Just checking.
Well, thanks for being here, Eris. I appreciate you help me out with things and so forth. So, thanks for being here. Colin, last word.
Yeah, thanks for the show, Nate. And thanks to Aris and Jinder with their background work there. Very interesting to hear about all the old games. Not really a gamer myself, used to be many years ago, but I gave it up. I'll let the kids take over all that stuff. So looking forward to trying a bit of Sparky Linux during the week, see how we go with that. And take care, everyone. See you next week.
Well, thanks for being here. I appreciate there being an adult in the room, so it's nice to have you as part of the show. So, Jinda, last word, bud.
Oh, guys, thank you so much for putting up with me. Thanks for teaching me something again, as always. And once again, I can't wait to come back next week. And thanks for putting up with me. Take it easy.
Well, you're easy to put up with because, I mean, you don't do that much wrong, really. I mean, no worse than Schickel. So thanks for being here. Joe, last word.
Nice to be here and to see you all again. And this is still the best 2D Mario game ever. That's all I gotta say. And it is what it is. And I'll post a link to the video in the chat.
Cool. So I guess we already established just a little bit ago that I have a terrible taste in games, and I say Super Mario World is better. But in that case, I'm not wrong. Well, thanks for being here, Joe. And Dan, last word.
Thanks for your time for actually putting on a show tonight. It was really great. I had fun. It's good to see you all again. I'll try and come around more often. And I got my Sparky Linux, but I can't get the hash numbers to come out right from the ISO. So,
well, good luck.
We'll see what we can do about that.
Oh, do we do hash numbers, do we?
I try
if you
when
want.
I can when they make it easy to find them.
Well, I mean, it's probably a good idea.
If you use the torrent, you don't have to worry about that, I guess.
I don't know. Maybe they updated the Sparky and didn't update the hash list.
Could be.
Well, Dan, thanks for being here. It's been a few months, maybe a year since I've seen you last. So glad you can make it.
Me too. I'll try and come around more often.
Oh, good. Schickel, last word.
It's me, isn't it? Hi.
It is.
I got my elementary terminal pillow, and I'm like super excited about it.
I saw that you had a pillow. That's funny.
I love it so much. I'm so happy it finally came in. I'm gonna order 2 more, but different colors and stuff. They're so.
I think it'd be fun to put like pillows like that, with like the $_ like in the living room on the couch like everybody else. Like it's like normal people have pillows. That would just be fun. So
I like it.
Yep. So thanks again for being here. I appreciate you for hanging out with us nerds, and hope to see you again next week. Adam, last word.
Thanks for having me on. I know you guys are cool for showing up, most of you at least, and everybody should show up in the morning to Steve's stream, because if you don't, I guess you just don't care, and that makes you bad. So show up in the morning.
Well, I totally agree, and thanks for being here. But I totally agree you should show up for Steve's stream because he has the least punchable face on the internet, and he's actually great. It's actually great to make breakfast while you hear Steve talk about things. I don't know what he talks about sometimes because I can't hear it over the sizzling of the bacon, but it's nice having Steve on in the morning.
It's gonna make me cry.
Oh, that's probably just the onions you're cutting. Well, Adam, I appreciate you being here because there's a lot of things I don't know about games, especially modern gaming, and it's nice to have someone who knows things.
Know things.
Well, well, thanks again for being here. Steve, last word.
Hey, well, thanks as always. Sorry I don't get the chance to do much of these testings. Hopefully things might start quieting down. I heard a few more people at work, so maybe I won't have to spend so much time at work. Thanks, Adam and Nate, for the kind words. I really appreciate that and the support. Thanks to everybody showing up and supporting Nate in his venture to get Biddle back on track. So thank you guys there. So everybody have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are from.
Well, I don't know about back on track, but on off the rails at least. Still chugging down a hill someplace. But hey, thanks for being here. I appreciate you just showing your face and whatever. Nobody has to actually test the things. It's not it's not necessary. It's just a subject matter to talk about. Whatever it might be. If you
Well, it's
test
nice
something
to be
else,
part of it, but
then bring it up. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. If you want more nonsense on me, you can go to cubiclenate.com. I got my Noodlings podcast, also DLN Extend, part of the Destination Linux Network, and Maker's Corner podcast is another one that I'm a part of. It's like every other week-ish that we kind of get together and talk about the silly things that we make in our little worlds. But I'd like to thank you all for joining in both the Zoom meeting and the YouTube stream. Rocco, once again, for starting the Biddle community. Eric, again, for the usage of his Zoom account. And everyone involved in the making of Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also have fun and enjoy our technology, because Linux truly puts personal back in personal computer. So until next time, see yas.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
I can't stop the stream. There we go.
I have that problem.